Let me tell you something, folks. I know luxury cars. I've driven the German brands. I paid the prices. And then I got into a Genesis. And I said, wait a second. This is luxury. The look, the performance, the comfort, whether it's a sleek G70, I love that car, or the GV80 with that third row, these are high-end vehicles with payments that actually make sense. Go see Michael. Tell him Sid sent you. Genesis of Brooklyn. Find him at genesisofbrooklyn.com.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
I do like Brian Geltzeiler. I like Brian for years. He's on the NBA channel on Sirius XM, and we'll take a little break from all the political stuff. Talk NBA with my friend Brian. Brian, good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm great, Sid. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. So Stephen A. Smith got a little hot water because he talked about the Lakers now basically being a white team, that their three best players are all white because LeBron James has decided not to come back. And he's right. They got Luka Doncic, he's white. They got Austin Reeves, he's white. So three white guys have become the face of the Lakers. People think you can't win in the NBA if that's the case. Could be funny, could be not, I don't know. But LeBron James looks like Golden State, Miami, or Cleveland. Do you have a pick?
I think it's going to be Golden State, but I don't know how prominent Miami is in this mix, Sid. The vibes I'm getting and what I'm hearing is that it's either going to be Golden State or Cleveland. Interesting thing with both of those teams in the offseason, Draymond Green opted out of the last year of his contract. He is a Clutch Sports client, which is obviously Rich Paul and LeBron's firm. And the whole idea there is to free up enough money to give LeBron something to entice him to come there. And money's not going to be a huge part of this, and there's not going to be huge money in this for LeBron. This is about going somewhere where he's got a chance to win and chance to enjoy finishing his career. So Draymond Green's done that, and then James Harden did the same thing in Cleveland. He declined his player option, and his idea is to get more years added on at less money per year, allowing the Cavs to be able to fit LeBron in. So you had both of those moves there. The problem with Miami is they're capped at the first apron because of this Giannis trade, and they just don't have a lot of room for him. Now, again, money's not going to be prominent in all of this, but I do think LeBron going somewhere with people he wants to be around and spend time with. I know LeBron is I spent a lot of time in October in Cleveland with that organization, a full 6 hours one day. I know this. They're very fond of LeBron James personally.
No, listen,
would love to have him
of
back.
course.
Love to have him back.
That's his home.
LeBron, Curry, Draymond, those are his buddies. He'd have a blast doing that. So I think it's going to be one of those two teams.
All right, there you go. He says either Golden State or Cleveland. Brian Geltzeiler on LeBron James. The Knicks, we said goodbye yesterday to one of our more popular players, not even a starter, but he's been there for so many years and came up big even in moments coming off the bench in this championship run. Mitchell Robinson is gone. But the funny part is, not only is Mitchell Robinson gone, but he goes to the nemesis, the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, listen, Knicks did not have a wonderful morning yesterday morning in trying to keep this thing together and give themselves a backup center. Because ultimately, James Dolan doesn't want to go into the second apron. Now, what does that mean? It essentially means Dolan doesn't care about paying the luxury tax money. They print money at MSG, so you know that. The thing for Jim Dolan that bothers him here is the roster restrictions and the lack of flexibility when you go into the second apron. So the Knicks did make a decision that they were not going to bring back Mitchell Robinson. And with that said, I don't think they thought he was going to end up on the Celtics. So that wasn't necessarily an ideal scenario for the Knicks there. But the other thing that happened quietly is, listen, we saw Ariel Hukporti play a little bit in the finals, and he looked bad. And to me, I thought that he was the best choice to promote to replace Mitchell Robinson. See if that works, especially if Warren going to go into the second apron, come to the trade deadline, you got to get a backup center. You can. Huckporty, the Knicks, they declined his option thinking they could bring him back on a cheaper number because, again, the Knicks' margins with the second apron are slim, and the Sixers swooped in and grabbed him at a little bit of a number above. And now the Knicks are in a little bit of a pickle trying to find a backup center, may have to make a trade to do that because it's a vital spot for them in how this team is constructed and how this team plays.
Yeah, especially with Cat. He always gets into foul trouble early on, needs some big bodies on the court.
Correct.
And you mentioned Huckporty going to Philadelphia. And listen, I know we keep talking up Philly every year, and Embiid and Maxey. They brought in Harden. They brought in Paul George. This is a completely different animal. They get Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics. And I'm sorry, but if you can go to war with Embiid, Jaylen Brown, Maxey, they've got other good players on that basketball team, I think this may finally be the year where the 76ers are legit.
Here's what I mean, listen, this was a home run deal for the Philadelphia 76ers. What I love about it is Jaylen Brown is the kind of lead guy to go with Tyrese Maxey that makes them Embiid-proof. You know, Embiid, you know it's going to happen. He's going to get hurt at the wrong time. He always does. And listen, I'm not killing the guy. He's a wonderful player when he's on the floor. He's just not on the floor all that much. And Philly's in a bad situation with him contract-wise, but they've essentially built a team that makes his contract gravy. This backcourt of Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe is fantastic. And then you look at putting Jaylen Brown in that mix, you will beat a lot of teams without Joel Embiid on the floor. And by the way, they got themselves a nice backup center in Ariel Huckporty.
Right, they got Huckporty.
Going to be able to fill that role there. So that'll work nicely for them too. They signed Dean Wade yesterday morning in free agency, who's a very good defensive player. Didn't make a lot of threes for the Cavs in the playoffs, but has the potential to be a very good three-point shooter. A 6'10" wing. Philly is tough, man. Philly's going to be really, really good. And listen, it's very interesting because we were looking at the Celtics with Tatum and Brown, thinking they could be a challenge once again to the Knicks next year. Philly's going to be a much bigger challenge than they are. That's
what I told Alec this morning. He disagreed with me. I told you, Justin, Philly's going to be the bigger challenge. Although Boston, again, Tatum comes back healthy this year. He was not really healthy most of the year last year. They did add Mitchell Robinson. I'm not sure what Paul George has left, but you know, obviously when you lose Brown, you don't win adding Robinson and George, but a healthy Jason Tatum, White is still there. They could still be very, very good.
I agree, Sid, and I think people are piling on the Celtics this morning. The Celtics put themselves in a very, very bad spot by not being willing to pony up enough in these Giannis talks. And once the fact that they floated Jaylen Brown publicly in a Giannis deal, this was after Jaylen Brown went on his crazy Twitch stream as soon as their season ended and kind of turned everybody off in Boston. Then you get the analytics community and said, I don't know if you saw what happened over the weekend on X, but Bobby Marks, ESPN's front office insider, who's a fantastic analyst in terms of the NBA, does a terrific job, came on my show with me and Sam Mitchell, and Bobby made a comment that he spoke to an analytics guy in one of the front offices of the league who said that Jaylen Brown, from an analytics standpoint, is a seventh best player on the team. And again, the numbers on the spreadsheet don't make Jaylen Brown look wonderful. We don't play the game on the spreadsheet. We play it on the basketball court. The guy is a killer and he matches up great with people, but there's a lot of analytics guys that look at those numbers and want to stay away. That and then Brown went at Bobby Marks on Twitter in a very aggressive way. And that kind of stuff turned teams off. I know that for a fact. Is that, you know, what exactly are we bringing into our program with this guy? Because, again, had a great year with Boston. Everything should be happy. He said he had his most fun year, but doesn't seem all that happy with the Celtics. So what Boston did here is they had a rapidly shrinking market for Jaylen Brown. And they figured, you know what, we bring PG in. We've gotten some reinforcements with Robinson here. We're keeping Derek White. We have some young guys that we think can get better. Even if we take a step back this year, we added valuable draft capital that we can use with George's expiring contract to upgrade this team. Here's the other point no one's making about this deal, Sid. All right? The Boston had this, like, alpha dog problem. Whose team is it? And it was always going to be Tatum's team. And then they had this surprising year last year where Jaylen Brown was an MVP candidate and had this super year. And now all of a sudden, they don't know whose team it is. They want it to be Jason Tatum's team. They didn't want it to be Jaylen Brown's team. And they were rightfully afraid of Jaylen Brown trying to hijack that. And you think his value is bad now? He comes to training camp and stirs everything up. And him and Tatum are not exactly cooking his peas and carrots. And by the way, I don't think Tatum's right about everything either. Jaylen Brown was, I know for a fact, not all that happy that Jason Tatum chose to not play in Game 7 of the Philly series in the first round when maybe he could have. Now, listen, Tatum just came back from an Achilles injury. I understand that. But there was definitely something there. You never heard Jason Tatum once with all the stuff going on with Jaylen Brown going, hey, keep my guy here. I want him. So they're trying to avoid something here, and they took cents on the dollar to avoid it.
Yeah, kind of like Judge and Soto with the Yankees. Toronto may be better. They bring back Kawhi Leonard. He won a championship there a couple of years ago with the former Knickerbockers, Quickly and R.J. Barrett. But one more on the Knicks we'll let you run, Brian, and that is they did lose Mitchell Robinson to the Celtics, but they kept for 4 years our assassin coming off the bench. Landry's still here. Landry Shamet's still here.
You know what? It's a super deal value-wise for the Knicks. $6 million a year for what that guy brings. He's going to shoot 40% from three and became a good defensive player. That's an absolute bargain. And the thing is for the Knicks, they don't need a really big, long wing off the bench because they have long wings in the starting lineup and OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. So the wing they bring in could be a little bit smaller. So Shamet is a perfect fit for this team. And listen, they essentially prioritize Shamet over Hukporti. And as long as they find a way to fill the backup center spot, that should play out okay and look good. Listen, I know Knicks fans would have loved if Jim Dolan would have gone into the second apron. I probably think for the year they could have and not really handcuff themselves that much. But also with the way these league rules are, I understand why he didn't because of the restrictions. With all that said, finding a way to stay under the second apron and bring back Landry Shamet was a very nice job by Leon Rose in that front office.
What are you hearing about Kelly Oubre possibly to the Knicks? Did you hear that?
No, Oubre signed already with Indiana yesterday.
Oh, he did? Okay. That was yesterday. Okay, there you have it.
2-year deal with Indiana yesterday. Yeah, I mean, Sid, right now, these deals are flying in fast and furious. It's very, very fluid in the NBA this time of year.
I love it. That's why you're going to be back again next week, and maybe LeBron will decide sooner than later. I think he wants to. So this was a great job today, Brian Geltzeiler. We'll do it again next week. Sirius XM NBA Radio. Great NBA guy. Terrific guy as well. Brian Geltzeiler. Brian, thank you so much.
It is always my pleasure, my guy. Reach out anytime. We will talk soon.
My man, love you. Brian Geltzeiler right here on Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?